Not
Oh,
bad.
I did message that girl in California.
Okay.
So we'll see what she
Yeah.
wants. She's looking to get them by Mother's Day. I told her that'll be tricky because she's in the States. Going through the border,
It's been taking about 2 weeks.
so it'll be close.
So, Mother's Day is that the second or the third weekend?
It's usually second, isn't it? Or is it the third?
That's why
Third Sunday.
I was thinking it was the third.
Are we having Mother's Day this year?
No, it's canceled. Like my birthday.
Everything's just nothing now.
Yeah.
Calendars don't
Mother's
mean anything.
Day canceled. My
Calendars-
birthday was canceled.
Calendars don't mean anything. Days don't mean anything.
Yeah, nothing.
None of it matters.
No, I could do those.
Sounds about
if I
right.
get those cut out tomorrow with all the other ones that people are asking for. I could get them mailed out on Monday.
Somebody commented on my review of Doctor Sleep that the director's cut's better. So
Is it longer?
it's 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, that's too long for a movie.
That's why I didn't put on the director's cut for you,
Oh
because
my
I knew
gosh.
at 3+ hours,
I'd fall asleep.
it was 2.5 hours as it was.
Yeah.
So
Did
that's
they
an extra
have, like,
40 minutes about.
explanation? Or?
I hope so, because none of it made any sense.
That's weird. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but
No, it just lacked sense.
yeah, it was just one of those. Wait, what?
And it felt like they tacked on the Overlook Hotel at the end, because we
Yes.
got to go back
Oh,
to the
we have to-
hotel.
Have to figure
There's
out.
not
some
really a
reason.
reason for it, but we're going to go back to the hotel because reasons.
We're gonna blow it up.
And Dan's not going to have a plan.
Fire.
Dan's plan's going to be not a plan.
Fire.
So when his plan
'Cause
fails,
we need to kill ghosts with fire. That always works.
it's not like they're already dead or anything.
It's not. Yeah, just kill the ghosts with fire.
See, and I'm
Sounds
wearing
like
my
it's
supernatural
zombies.
shirt. They'll tell you how to
If
get
it
rid of
was
them.
zombies, you could kill them with fire, but ghosts, yeah, totally works.
Yeah, they should have dealt with Sam and Dean. Sam and Dean should have showed up at the Overlook after, just shaking their heads.
Kill the ghost.
So we're going into chapter 12 of this book, and then we've got chapter 13, and then we go into part 3, which is parallels.
Yeah.
So, the hospital has shaken, and it's been thrashed by the shockwave, but it stood tall. Los Angeles General Hospital has prided itself on its ability to withstand earthquakes. This moment is proving to be its proudest. The Webster brothers are gathered inside the hospital where their mother is clinging to life. Marianne opens her eyes slowly. The first time she's regained consciousness since she was stabbed and fell to the ground. She sees her 4 boys watching over her and manages a smile. "You came to see your mother," she says weakly. "Mom, what happened?" Jim asks, holding her mother's hand in his. "Your mother's an old fool, boys. You see, I tried to do God's work. I tried to start the wheels in motion for the cleansing, and now I'm paying for that." She coughs. Doctors are nearby, and they're struggling over charts and debating the next course of action. She's been operated on, but they're struggling with Marianne's blood loss. Knife pierced her spleen, and she'd been lucky to survive this long, but they're battling against the current on this one. If a person has a fighting spirit to live, this woman seemed to have a fighting spirit to die. "There doesn't need to be a cleansing, Mom," Steve says, frustrated to hear her talking like that while in such grave condition. He, like his brothers, never could have predicted their mother's obsession could lead to her being wounded like this. Even after being stabbed, she's clinging to that belief, and Steve was the only one saying what they all were thinking. Marianne gives Steve a warm smile. "People are flawed, son. You boys will lead them. I saw you on the news. I know what you were all a part of. The invaders won't be willing to mess with the Websters next time. I've left a great legacy on this planet." "Have left?" John asks. "Mom, you can pull through this. We need our mother." She shakes her head. "You have a good father. You have each other. I'm just a broken old fool. I'll be rewarded in heaven for my faith, for being a believer in things unseen, and a power greater than us in this universe. You have to believe, boys. This planet depends on your faith now. When I, the true believer, have passed on, that leaves you to continue my ministry." "Don't talk like that, Mom. Come on now," Rob says, grabbing his mother by the shoulder. The heart monitor starts beeping rapidly, and doctors rush in to try and stop what appears to be a heart attack. One uses a long needle to the chest while the other places liquid in her IV, which is meant to expand her arteries and give her heart a chance to recover. They scramble and watch the display of her vital signs. Beeping grows faster, and they're sweating as they try to deliver the remedy in time. As abruptly as the heart started beating quickly, it suddenly stops. as if someone pulled the plug on her heart. Administer shock, the one doctor says, looking over his shoulder to make certain that Marianne's sons are far enough away from the table. Presses a button on the machinery attached to the table, and electric shock passes through Marianne. Her chest rises and her muscles tighten, but the beeps from the heart monitor don't start to sound again. Damn, the doctor says as he tries another shock. He then checks a few numbers and looks at the sons. She's gone. I wish I knew what to tell you. This shouldn't have been a fatal wound. Rob wipes a tear from his eye. She wanted to go out like that. Jim nods. You can't save someone who has no will to live. At least she's in peace now. It should be at peace now. Either way. Send me the book. I'll fix it. While the other brothers stand and look on in silence, Steve steps over to his mother while doctors make futile efforts to jumpstart her heart. It never needed to end like this, Mom. There's so much you miss. There's so much you will miss. He turns and exits the room, a tear streaming down his cheek as he does so. John looks around at his brothers. He can't believe the tragedy that's followed, and now not so clear victory today. There's so much work to be done, and they'll have to do their healing later. The one encouraging sign to John is that this is the first time he and his brothers have been truly united as a family. He may not agree with his mother's philosophy on life and death, but she raised some good kids who will do her memory proud. You didn't drop a pin right under my foot, right?
I think I did, but I don't see it.
I see it.
Do you?
Yep. Because if there's a pin, I will step on it. I will stab myself. And I will probably not be happy about it. All right. Next scene. Mike's shuttle is slammed against the hull of the Peace Restorer before he finally rights it and makes his way to the docking bay. Once the shuttles come to a complete rest and the doors open, he kicks the still out cold Goro in order to wake him up. Damn you, he grumbles. You kidnapped me, Translo. Why am I being kicked? Goro asks as he slowly gets to his feet. Once he looks out of the docking bay at the scene before him, he actually has the nerve to smile. This is what happens when you don't finish the job. We scuttle our ship and kill millions. You set that up. Of course I did. You beat us and I wanted to make you and your allies pay. Goro then scowls as he looks around him. This is the ship which crippled mine, is it? Yeah, let's go, Mike says as he draws his gun and leads Goro to the elevator. As it starts to lift him to its desired floor, Mike looks down towards the floor. Every fiber of his being wants him to kill Goro and end this fast. The problem is that's what Goro wants, and he can't let this monster become a martyr for his people. See, your problem is you're being merciful. My people are merciless. We will kill and burn everything. We leave nothing and no one behind when we're challenged. That's the fate you've doomed your world to, and you know it. Goro, you aren't getting me to fire my gun. Oh, if I want you to dance, you'll dance, General. My father taught me well. If he taught you well, we wouldn't have been able to sneak up on you like that. Your ship wouldn't be demolished. Your father would have smelled a trap. Your father was smart. He was a good military mind, as much as I hate to admit it, but you're no guyer. Goro rolls his eyes. That's the best you can come up with in the way of insults? No, the best insult I can come up with is you're just another prisoner of war. You won't be treated any better or worse than the rest of them. Since your kind all looks the same to me, seems fitting. You spent years caging up Altarians and treating them like cattle. I figure it's your turn. Goro takes a step towards Mike. Tread very lightly, Translo. Leaving me alive is a large mistake on your part. You'll find me arrogant. Maybe that's a weakness for me. But I will not leave you alive if our roles. I would not leave you alive if our roles were reversed. I will escape. I will be free, and when I am, I'll kill you. I won't pause. I won't care what the consequences are. You'll be dead, and I get to celebrate your death. Mike shrugs. You got to celebrate something, I guess. You can party about killing people with the booby trap you left behind on your ship. You can celebrate wiping Conley from the galaxy. You can enjoy the fact Altair's people have been your slaves for decades now. Now, if I was in your position, I'd be worried about people with a score to settle. You've made enemies with your own kind over the years. Now you're just another Altilian. They might have something to say to you. The elevator doors open and they emerge onto a prison level Mike hoped they'd never need to use. There are going to be plenty of Altilian prisoners of war here, and the capacity of 200 is more than enough in this case. Mike walks all the way to the end of the row, to the very last cell, and then opens the steel-barred door before motioning Goro inside. Steel bars? Are we traveling back in time, General? Mike smirks. We've taken your weapons. The steel will hold you. Now get in there or I'll knock you out and have you sharing a cell with a couple of Altilians who don't like you much. I'm sure I can find at least 2 for that task. Goro mutters something in his native tongue before he takes his place inside the cell, allowing Mike to slam the door shut. Goro wraps his hands around the bars. Enjoy this moment now, Mike. That's where we're different. I don't enjoy any of this. I find no joy in war. That's why I'm a better creature than you. Mike winks at Goro and makes his way back to the elevator without saying another word to the prisoner. Next scene. Thalia Laris is stunned by everything she's seen. The videos from Earth stream to her and the rest of her people with a very short delay. The carnage, the violence, and the truth are all there for everyone to see. The revelation that Altel has been behind the charring of an entire world resonates with Thalia since she had asked Goro about the rumor recently, and he had laughed it off. He had clearly been lying, and his entire world was behind all of this. The entire time she'd been a leader of her people, she had been a puppet for Altel and a conveyor of their propaganda. It made her sick to her stomach, and she felt that all those deaths were on her hands as much as they were on Gora's. She sits on her bed and stares out the window at the city of Jernon. She would not be surprised if there's a movement to throw her out of her position running the planet. Her failure is as clear as the sky overhead. This is the same peaceful landscape it has always been, and has been protected by cowardice and lies. She doesn't want to move, and she isn't sure she wants to live. She becomes aware someone's knocking on her door and sighs while standing and making her way over to answer it. This is putting a dent into her time alone. She's using this to think things through. When she opens her door, she finds Dradgen and Missy are there. You haven't said a word since the footage from Earth aired, Missy says. Your people need to hear from you, Dradgen adds, trying to grab Thalia by the hand only to ever pull away. What do I tell my people? We've been sold a bill of goods by Altel for years, stood by and allowed them to occupy Altair out of concern for peace and our well-being. I covered my backside and allowed how many people to die? The number has to be in the millions. She answers as she returns to her bed and sits to resume her gaze out the window. Dradgen enters the room and blocks her from the window. This isn't leadership, Thalia. Pouting can't make things right. Your people are in grave danger. I love you as much as the next person, but you have to be shaken out of this and get in gear. Every moment you sit here and pout is another minute for Sabal to start putting things in motion. I know him, and he won't try being the nice guy like Goro did. He doesn't have time for that, and he'll bomb this planet to the ground. Look what they just did to Earth. Thalia looks at Dradgen, confused by that comment. Well, Earth beat them and disabled their warship of theirs in one hit. Dradgen shakes his head. You didn't hear. It didn't end there, Thalia. There was an auto-destruct on that ship that went off and decimated the nearby ecologies and the planet below when the blast wave hit. The early estimates have millions dead, and Altel will be able to play this off as a victory. They don't have honor, Thalia. They don't play by the rules in war, and they'll be bringing that kind of ruthlessness to your world before long. Now is the time for you to unite your people. Thalia nods. You're right. You're always right, really. She then makes her way out of the room and into her living room. She heads down the hallway and into a room she uses for important speeches, which this will certainly be. As she sits down, Kale rightly barges into the room, looks worn out and sweaty, and he's likely on the verge of a heart attack. Kale? Thalia, don't accept this as is. Don't listen to Mike Translow. Kale, he's right. The military doesn't have to follow the same rules as the political system does. If he hadn't acted and taken control, we'd still be playing cat and mouse and think we have a chance to achieve lasting peace with Altel. We can, Kale pleads. You need to see that. Thalia looks down towards the floor and contains her emotions. She then looks him in the eyes. Peace cannot be achieved with a race that wants to wipe us out of the galaxy. We have been fools for far too long, and I will not sit idly by and allow this to happen any further. Kale draws his gun and points it at her. The people don't want it, Laris. They want peace. You cannot overrule the will of the people. Put the gun down, Kale, Dradgen says while drawing his own gun. Dradgen hates handling firearms, and his hands are shaking visibly as he tries to keep the gun pointed at the target. You're not thinking right here. Kale flashes a wide-eyed look towards Dradgen. You're the problem here. Your kind were enslaved and then came to us. We were foolish enough to help, and look where that's got us. The planet will be burned to the ground if we stand by Mike. They never attacked us, not even once. Earth isn't our problem. They can fight their own war and keep that treasonous Mike Translow with them. I can maintain diplomatic relations with Altel if you'll just let me do my job, he says as he turns his attention back to Thalia. How did they get to you? Dradgen asks. What are you talking about? Kale responds. Dradgen looks at Thalia. He's been infected. That stuff they used on the ecologies. He's been exposed to it. When was your last meeting with the Altilians? He asks. None of your business, outsider, he shouts at Dradgen, his eyes more crazed by the moment. They came to me. They want me to restore the peace our worlds have enjoyed. War can only lead to us all dying. Thalia wants to move, but she knows Kale will fire. She also understands what happened here. In his last meeting with whichever Altilian stepped by, he was exposed to that DNA-altering mixture which had caused so much trouble in our sarcologies. The madness was now at a boiling point, and she had every reason to fear for her life. If there was a cure, her people didn't have it, and it was likely too late for Kale anyways. Kale, put the gun down and we can talk. I don't have to address our people right this moment. Maybe we can work something out. Kale smiles, but it's an uneven and creepy smile. You think we can hug it out, Thalia? You're a puppet for these people. You're no leader. I know it. You know it. If you're going to start getting brave and become a leader, then do it for the right reasons and not because the outsider here told you to do so. We aren't getting revenge on Ultil for his people or for Earth. That's not going to happen here, Kale, Thalia says, and she considers moving towards him to disarm him. She has a headache, and she's wishing she had better security at this moment. The possibility that Kale killed her security guards before entering this room causes her blood to run cold. It's not something she wants to consider, but she has to. Kale, listen to me. You're a good leader, a good military mind, and we need people like you right now. Right, until Mike Translow comes back with that damn fleet he secretly built. Once he's back, old Kale here's as good as gone. You're more likely to kill me than keep me on as the leader of the troops. I've never failed in my job as a general to those men and women. I've done nothing to deserve this treatment. As he sees Kale stepping closer to Thalia, Dradgen's hands stop shaking out of necessity. He's demanding calm from himself right now. Kale, put the gun down now. Step back for Thalia, or he doesn't get to finish his warning as Kale turns and fires at Dradgen. Dradgen anticipates the move and dives to his right while squeezing off a shot that hits Kale in the stomach. Kale drops to his knees and Thalia alertly picks the gun from his hands before he falls on his back on the floor. Thalia picks up the gun while Missy finally appears in the corner of the room. She'd been hiding the whole time. What's wrong with him? Infection, Dradgen says as he rushes to Kale's side. Kale's wheezing and coughing, grabbing at his abdomen, which is already bloated due to internal bleeding. Nice shot, outsider, Kale says to Dradgen. They'll kill us all, he says, and then his eyes glass over while he exhales his last breath. Dradgen throws his gun away and places his face in his hands. He despises using guns and hates that he didn't have a choice in the matter. He's right. Thalia nods. I need to have a medical team at the military headquarters. A medical team at the military headquarters. I also need an envoy to Earth, since word has it Ultil may have given them the cure for this plague about to befall our people. Missy nods. I'll go then. Thalia looks Missy in the eyes. I'll send my best soldiers along with you. I'll see if we can dig up any more of those SS-210 fighters. Landers is going to get a call from us about a large military contract, too. She looks down at Kale. If we're as trusting as he was, we'll all suffer the same fate. The people will have to follow me. It's the right decision, Dradgen agrees. That's the end of that scene. One more. John Webster leads his brothers into the decimated areas of East Los Angeles. 4 shuttles flying 100 feet above a shocking scene. It's now that dropping safety standards are becoming painfully apparent. There are entire neighborhoods which have been jolted into piles of rubble. Emergency crews are on hand to sort through that rubble, but they're overwhelmed by the sheer scope of the destruction. How the hell did they do this? Jim asks over a radio channel that the brothers have used many times before during games where they played war. They've never spoken over this channel while at war until now. Reports state they had a self-destruct system on their warship which they set off. They estimate that 4 arcologies were taken out too. This is really bad, John says, unable to process the sheer scope of the devastation, which runs on as far as the eye can see. As they travel further east, the rubble is more flattened and there are fewer signs of life. They're getting closer to the area which sustained the highest energy burst from the explosion. So how do we fight this? Steve asks. They're clearly ready to be martyrs and willing to do whatever it takes to kill a maximum amount of people. I'm not going to take this ship to their world and do the same, no matter how much this ticks me off. I'm not a careless monster. Some humans will be, Jim says. This terrible event will be a rallying cry for every wacko on this planet. It's not like our world's been united for a common cause a lot in our history. Conspiracy theories and mistrust usually speak louder than logic and reason. I wrote this almost a decade ago. I need to throw that in with that line.
That out again.
We're just going to have to try our damnedest to keep things together and fight back in the right way. Is there a right way, Rob asks. His eyes spot a little girl wandering on top of the rubble and he moves in for a landing. Gotta pick one up. I can't fly over this one, he says, and then he sees that his brothers are all moving into land as well. The 4 brothers land in one seemingly open space suitable for sitting their shuttles on. Rob gets out first and rushes over to the little brown-haired girl, who can't be much older than 5 or 6. Are you hurt? He asks. The little girl's face is dirty and there are tears running down her cheeks. Mommy and Daddy, she says through a sniff as she points to a dense area of rubble. Jim heads straight to that area and starts lifting stones, metal, wood off the pile as quickly as he can and with his bare hands. There isn't any time to be looking around for gloves he didn't think to bring. John and Steve do have gloves, however, and they tear into the rubble more fearlessly than Jim has. The 3 work while Rob places his hand on the little girl's shoulder. We'll do what we can, sweetheart, he says, trying not to get emotional in this moment. He then makes his way to the brothers, putting his gloves on, and starts digging through the remnants of the little girl's home as well. John finds a narrow opening and digs for it. If they've survived the collapse, they might be in this very spot. There hadn't been any noise from the rubble yet, but they're not allowing that to slow them down. John's aware, as the rest of them are, that first responders are overwhelmed here, and they need to help wherever they can. It's Steve who actually sees an arm reaching up. Guys, I got an arm, he shouts, and the others start pulling away debris at this point in the mess. The arm is attached to a young woman, and they're relieved to find her alive. Ma'am, we've got you, Steve says, grabbing her hand. My legs are trapped, she says. The little girl's face lights up, and she rushes over. Mommy. The mother looks at the little girl with tears in her eyes. Yes, sweetie. I'm going to be okay. Let these nice men dig me out here, and we can get the help we need. Can you... She looks at Rob. Can you take her to your shuttles over there? Maybe play with her a bit or something? Rob's heart sinks. Can do, he says, and he leads the little girl away from the rubble. The woman looks at Jim. My husband didn't make it. He's in here somewhere, and I didn't want her to see it. Jim nods in agreement. Sometimes it's the things we don't see that let us sleep at night, he says, as they continue digging the woman out. As Steve helps free the woman, he looks at the destruction that is as far as the eye can see in any direction. There are precious few who are out this far helping free the injured. This is going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. That's the end of that scene. So, keep in mind, there was 1 shot fired. 1. So, I totally Wrath of Khan that. 1 shot, and then, alright, what happens after that? Well, they do the Khan thing. They set a self-destruct. So, yep, there you go. Book's all done. Destruction everywhere. And that's where I ended it. I went, that's a brave spot to end the entire thing. Just all nice and neat. All perfectly wrapped up. So you got everything pinned? You're good?
No.
You're good?
No.
How many of those did you make today?
Oh my gosh, I cut so many. Did you see the pile?
Oh, you had glitter on your chin.
Of course
You have glitter on your chin.
What do I don't know what I have glitter from.
It's not coming off. I think it's permanent.
It might be.
It's perma-glitter. I don't know what you have glitter from either.
I have no idea.
What were you handling that had glitter in it? Because it's right in the middle of your chin.
I have no idea.
All right.
See, I cut so many. Like this, there's 28 just from this one. Because this is a sheet.
Yep.
I was able to get 28 caps out, of one side. So I'll have this be the inside, and then I'll have a fun print with it. But 28 of them from one sheet, and then I cut so many others. So many. There's a huge pile in the living room of caps. Yeah. And I finished a bunch of masks today too, so that's good. It's good because I'm pretty sure my phone is just binging, and it's probably more people needing masks. That's my guess. Just a crazy guess. What's that face for?
Nothing.
Why are you doing stupid faces?
Because I had a poll up on the Hockey Guy channel. Which Western Canadian team will be the best next season? And comment, you forgot about Montreal, but I see Vancouver.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's funny. So weird. I didn't realize they were in the West. I mean, I'll go back and learn some geography. But...
I just...
What's that have to do with Vancouver?
Because I put up there, I put Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg. Those are the Western Canadian teams. And then I'm going to do a poll as well on Eastern Canadian teams, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. And that'll, because they're in the East.
Right.
I figured that speaks for itself, but...
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
That's really funny.
I just don't.
Just go respond to him. Western.
I just don't. Yeah. All right. Well.
It is funny though.
Yeah, just the view counts are just so low right now. 6, 9, 11, 20, 22. Oh well. That's what makes me nervous is that the view counts seem to just keep sinking. And I get it.
Further and further away
I get it, but it's making me nervous because we're already down on revenues, and there's a point where it's like, and now what do I talk about? Now what hoops do I jump through? And then if it's an opinion video, it's probably going to get more hits, but it's also going to be a lot more headaches.
Yes.
You know, the history videos don't get as many headaches involved in them. It's funny because, you know, everybody talks about, I hate Pittsburgh, and yet tomorrow I'm doing Pittsburgh and Washington, where Pittsburgh beat Washington in 2009 on their way to their first Stanley Cup with Crosby. So it's an odd thing to do when you hate somebody, but, you know, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, there are other things I'm looking at. I'm looking at rivalry videos and maybe talking about Stanley Cup runs and getting in depth with them and trying to figure something out. But yeah, so that's on me. I gotta try to make sure I'm still coming up with content every day while we have absolutely no idea when this is coming to an end. But there are some states opening up tomorrow, so be as safe as you can be if you're in one of those states. And we'll see how the numbers look. Just as long as people stay 6 feet apart and follow certain guidelines, they should be fine. Ish. Again, it can work, but people have to buy into it.
I know.
They have to buy into it, and they have to be careful. Then it can work. But I have fingers crossed. If you're in one of those areas, my fingers are crossed for you. Good luck to everybody out there. Thanks for watching this video today. With the book and all, we're almost to the end of it, as you can probably tell. We're almost to the end of Volume 2, and then we get into Volume 3, where the real war happens, where you can see where I'm kind of setting it up that, okay, it's time for the real deal. Because fusion reaction goes off, and the wave goes right down to Earth's surface and just decimates a large portion of the population. That's going to cause probably some consternation on Earth. I would think probably Earthlings would be kind of mad about that.
Maybe.
So, because you got to think with four arcologies, that's 2 million dead in space, and then the millions on the surface too. So, yeah, it's a lot. All right, but we'll get into that another night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. I would say the whole like and subscribe thing, but it'd be weird if you came in at this point. So, hopefully, I'll just say hope you enjoyed tonight's portion of the book. And
you can still like the video.
You can like the video. I encourage liking the video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It means a ton during this time, and I will talk to you again soon.